Hi, this is Sherry Veronica, and with me in studio this bright and early morning is Victor Callender. Now, I put out a proposition on a blog I did earlier, and I said, let Haiti be run by the people on the ground who wants to run it, who wants to tell the prime minister or the president, no, we don't want you anymore. You need to go. If they can so easily get rid of a prime minister or a president or whoever's running the country, if they on the ground, we call them gang, you want to call them a gang, if they can do that so easily, why not let Haiti be the experiment we're looking at? We want to see how they can do it and still have industry, still have the security they need, still have energy for light and gas and kerosene, whatever, the internet. Let's see how the gangs can run Haiti, and we on the sidelines would watch and see how that works out. But Victor has a different idea. Welcome into the studio, Victor.
Hey, good morning, Barbados. Good morning, world. Yes, my idea is completely, I've been thinking that Haiti is a failed state, but it's not going to be the only failed state in the Caribbean. But for now, let's talk about Haiti. Mm-hmm. It's going to be run by multi-corporate entity, not multinational, because national means that Haitians will still own it.
Right.
It's not going to be owned by Haitians. It's going to be owned by multi-corporate entities from outside of Haiti, mm-hmm. United States, England, Germany, most countries in the European Union, and it'll be owned by those companies. And the destabilization of Haiti will continue to be pervasive.
Please say that the French are not going to have a hand in this ownership.
Oh, yeah, of course, the French, Europeans, yes. And the intentional, listen, this is intentional destabilization. You can have a fellow like Barbecue not being barbecued. They're going to barbecue him. He's going to be a piece of burnt meat here shortly, because his name, his pointer, will be going out for the rest of the world to see. And he's going to become, all they're waiting for is a sauce to put on him, stick a fork in him. Let's put him to the side. But it's what's in Haiti's geological table. What is under Haiti's soil, you understand? Mm-hmm. That's going to be the apex of what European destabilization would have cost Haiti going forward. It is a failed state. It has been allowed to be a failed state for as long as we can remember.
So I could say, but Victor, so your point and my point kind of marry. Your point and my point kind of fit together very well, because if you're saying it's being destabilized and then it's going to be run by multinational corporations, and from the European nation and America or whatever, and it's intentional, what's happening there is intentional. Well, it's almost like not having a government, but it's managed.
No, there wouldn't be a Haitian government. There would be a proxy government of multi-corporate entities, not multinational, because national means it still belongs to the Haitian people. It does not. It will not. Haiti was the experiment that went wrong, that built America and built gun rights in America. The Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, Cherry Veronica, was predicated on the Haitian Revolution. And all you have to do is go read Dr. Claude Anderson. He has an excellent book about why the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States came about, because Americans were fearful of what the Haitian Revolution caused or would cost them at the height of antebellum slavery. And guess what they did? They made sure that Haiti would never again be functional in this hemisphere. Never. And they've continued to promote the destabilization of Haiti all the way to now. The fact that the geological tables show that Haiti has under its soil the mineral wealth that the rest of the world needs to have in order to build nuclear weaponry. It's under the only two places in the world that possesses this this mineral plentifully. One is South Africa, the other one is Haiti, right? They will intentionally make sure that Haiti is a failed state because they can't do it with South Africa because that's going to raise the ire of Europeans, especially the large European population that occupies South Africa. But they don't have that same problem with Haiti. It's a failed state. Like I mentioned earlier, the other place that's headed towards being a failed state very rapidly, very quickly, is Jamaica. They don't get the situation under control with violence in that country, especially towards established law enforcement. Their economy will become a thing that mimics a Jurassic age, and no one will want to go to Jamaica.
It's one of the favorite places of all Europe of tourists. And why not look at Venezuela? When you were talking about two failed states, I thought you were going to mention Venezuela.
No, I wouldn't mention Venezuela. You know why I wouldn't mention Venezuela? Because of Venezuela's geographic proximity, and also because Venezuela is propped up by Russia. Haiti isn't propped up by anybody. Venezuela is propped up by Russia.
Okay.
If Venezuela wasn't propped up by Russia, if it wasn't propped up by communist China, if it wasn't propped up by North Korea, America would already have made moves because Venezuela is probably one of the largest oil producers in the world. It's the seat. It has a seat on OPEC, so it tells you a lot. But the reason they haven't moved on it is because of its annexation, political annexation to Russia, communist China, and North Korea, and Iran. You understand? That goes a long way in saying that Venezuela still has some juice in the game. And of course, you know that Nicolas Maduro followed in the footsteps of Castro in Cuba.
Yeah.
So Venezuela is good for now. I'm not going to say that Venezuela is always going to be good because I don't believe that Venezuela always will be good. But Haiti will become a failed state much more quickly than with Venezuela, even though Venezuela has all of the matrix in place to be a failed colossal.
I saw this Cuba, and they have Cuba now on their knees begging for sustenance. So that could be a failed state too.
Who has Cuba begging for sustenance?
Cuba is begging the Americans to continue because, believe it or not, America is subsidizing Cuba in a lot of areas that we may not even know of, but it's happening, and they're asking them because they're afraid of Trump, and they're saying, please let it continue, please. So I don't know if it's going to continue if Biden does not get back in, but Cuba has been begging America to continue sending food and sending what little morsels that they get from the Americans. Cuba has been begging for it to continue. Please keep on.
America is a toothless tiger. Plain and simple. It no longer has the might of a Reagan-esque geopolitical.
Oh, so you're saying that Washington D.C. does not exist?
It exists.
Mm-hmm.
It exists in the mind space of those who believe that America still lives in its past. The best days of this country militarily are behind it. even with all of its power, all of its industrial might, because it doesn't have the will to fight. Look, it's not about militaristic power alone, the level of weaponry that you possess alone, Sherry Veronica. It's about your will to fight. Fighting, right, as we know it, can only be done in an aerial format for so long before you have to put boots on the ground. And the furthest thing for most Americans' minds would be to put their children in wars that cannot sustain serious casualties or losses. They don't no longer have that. They don't. We've proven that in several wars. When is the last time America has won a war? When? Grenada. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. Never won shit. When is the last time I'm an ex-military guy? When is the last time? During the Cold War, we prayed. I was in the military that we didn't have to go to war against Russia. We prayed. So anybody wants to think that the best days of America are ahead as far as militaristic power, they're selling themselves wolf tickets. I don't believe it.
Okay, so let's get back to Haiti. Go back to Haiti.
Mm-hmm. I think that, like I said, Haiti will be a conglomerate state run by large corporate entities, and barbecue and the rest of those thugs, they're good as long as they don't kill Americans, white Americans, or Europeans. If they kill some black Americans of Haitian ancestry, no big deal. If they kill one white American or one white European, then they'll feel the might of the United States of America, what might is left of European countries, of NATO, and barbecue will meet an untimely demise very quickly, very expeditiously. That's it, period. Period. We have to look at the reality of where things are going. If you are a failed state in this hemisphere, you are a failed state. If you can't control your general populations because of gang warfare, black on black crime, no one cares about that. But let it mess up the monies that should go to Shell, Exxon, Mobil, any of the large oil producing and or corporate structures globally. You start messing with these white people's money, you're done. Stick a fork in you. Stick a fork in you. You're done.
So okay. So you think that Haiti is going to continue to self-implode, it's going to be allowed to fail as it is, and it always has, because the world at large, they have bigger plans for it, huh?
Yes, we say because of Haiti's geographic location to the United States, we could have quashed that issue in there easily. If it really was about Haitian people, if it really was about humanity, we could have quashed that issue. We're sending food to Gaza, airlifting loads of food to Gaza to feed people in Gaza. We sent weaponry to Israel and to Ukraine. Come on. They're 90 miles away from us at most. If the intentionality is not for them to be a failed state, then explain to me what is. We could have gone in there with 3,000 troops, weaponry, and put barbecue in handcuffs and brought his black ass to the United States and sent him to the Supermax. Easy. Any of these Caribbean islands, we can do that with the criminal element. If the governments can't handle them, they just call for some help, and we go do that. I am sure that there's been no leader of any specific Haitian government who has not begged the State Department for help. And we didn't put boots on the ground. Why? Why? We've got advisors in Ukraine. We've got advisors in Israel. What's going on with Israel? How you think we get in, security briefings? We've got people on the ground in those two countries. We've got people on the ground in Haiti. Been there for years. So if it's not intentional destabilization, then what is it?
Because along with the intentional destabilization, there still has to be a military presence if they mean to take whatever there is under the ground, all of the wealth that you claim is under the ground. They're still going to need a military presence to be able to create barriers and to put their equipment on the ground.
All that. We already have all that.
We already have all that. We already have all that there.
We already have all that. Listen, the difference between technologically ready countries and those not equipped to take care of their citizenry is night and day. We already have that. We have it right down in Florida, waiting.
Oh, it's in Florida. It's not in Haiti. You're saying?
It's in Florida.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm saying is, if it's a failed state, and my suggestion on another blog and partly on this blog is, leave Haitians alone. Leave them alone. Let's see what they can do with all the might they have in their own territory, because we know that they can't even. The Dominican Republic is attached to them. There's a marker, don't cross here. And the Dominican Republic, when you look at the face of the DR and you look at the face of Haiti, two different, just like night and day. So is it the darkness of the Haitian? Is it because they're a little darkly complected as opposed to the other side? But anyhow, if it is a failed state and is being allowed to fail, why not leave them alone? Why even encourage some sort of proxy government or some sort of like make-believe type of government and some make-believe sort of democracy? Why all the make-believe? Why all the make-believe?
You can fail on your own time. You just can't fail on mine.
Oh, I see. I see.
What I need, you have.
Okay, I see.
What I need, you have. Listen, no one that's in power, do you not understand that? No one that's in power gives up power. Only a dunce gives up power. Only black people concede power. No other race on earth. No other race on earth concedes power. Only black people concede power.
No, okay. Let's hold that thought. Yes, that is true. But the Haitians, even during full chattel slavery, they moved with a determination that was unknown to the earth at that time, and they fought off like 4 or 5 different like militaries and different armies. I mean, like forceful, and there people that came with like supplies and people that came with reinforcement. Haitians were able to repel them. So there has something about them that, although you talk about not having power, not being able to sit at the table, Haitians have always been able to show, we have might. We have might.
They had recent connection to Africa. That was what they had.
But they did show it. But they did show it, Victor. They did show. They did show. But Victor, they did show that they had the what testicular, whatever it is.
The testicular 42,
and that was in the height of chattel slavery when they were fighting, and like I said. But so there's some, okay, you're saying that you don't give up power, and in that little space that you call Haiti, they took power. They didn't got that, the Emancipation Act that they put in Barbados or they didn't have no Emancipation Act. They took
3 heroes.
They took
3 heroes.
Yeah, they took their power. They took the power. They took back their power.
But Sherry, wait a minute. They had 3 heroes in that revolution: Christophe, Louverture, and Dessalines. 3 heroes in their history. At the apex of their power base, one of those 3 conceded power back to the Europeans. Because remember, after the revolution, and they became isolated, and they ended up having to owe reparations to France. They only got paid, finished paying in the 1990s. What did they do? They went back in chains. They went back on their knees. They didn't seize the opportunity that they had. Sherry,
like you said, they were fresh out of Africa, and you know that after 40 years, there's a new generation coming in. You know that 40 years in the wilderness, it seems as though that 40 years is symbolic because there's like a turnaround, and you have to make sure in that symbology of that 40 years when, like they talk about when they were walking around in circles when the promised land was right there. Now the Haitians, they did the same thing. They probably did the same. They lost that power, the power that they had under their belts. That they did not pass. Somewhere along the line, they did not pass it to the next generation. Because if you're saying that they went back to the Europeans, it only shows that they had the time in the wilderness. They had some time in that wilderness, and it's very symbolic. It's very symbolic when you
had a revolution. They had a revolution without a plan.
You cannot have children. You cannot have children and not pass that history along. You cannot do it. You cannot
stay. No revolution can be successful. No revolt can be successful without a plan. Well, you know how I know that?
Well, there was okay. Go ahead.
We had an emancipation in America, only to end up with Reconstruction. Out of Reconstruction, the slaves ended up being what? They ended up being back on plantations working for their former masters, and they were worse off because now you had the advance. The creation of the clan.
Yeah, they ended up being 5/8. Yeah, okay. So they ended up being 5/8 because, like you said, there's no plan. So you end up being less than a human. Okay, you end up being less than what you started out as being. So who's dropping the ball? Where's the kink in the link? Where is it? Where's that broken part there in the link? There's something that needs to be passed on. What do you say? I'm asking you a question, Victor Callender. What needs to be passed on that you don't spend 40 years in the wilderness?
Well, yeah, the Israelites spent 40 years in the biblical times in a journey that would have taken them 2 weeks. We have not learned our lessons from then till now. You understand? We have revolution.
But my question to you, okay, but Victor, I'm asking you, who's dropping the ball? Where's the ball being dropped?
The ball is being dropped by us, by our leaders.
How? What is not being passed? What? Because DNA is DNA. DNA is DNA.
But our leaders don't want us to be successful.
Oh, so you're saying that the white man is outsmarting the black man at every point. Okay.
No, I'm saying that the black man, because of his slothful nature because of his ability to sabotage his own people, for the most part, black leaders do, they feel more entitled and more sustained and more self-aggrandized going to the French Riviera.
So isolation. So isolating themselves. Okay, I see it. It's the isolation that they put them because they think they're better than the people who put them where they are. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Of course, it happens all the time in every political system that's created with and of black people by black leadership. You're going to have massive, colossal failure. Look at Africa, 54 states in Africa. With all of the industrial might that's in the geological table of the continent of Africa, and we still continuously blame Europeans when most of Africa is not under European rule. It's under African rule. And still it's failing with African leaders who want to be more Europeanized than the Europeans who were there before.
I agree.
Our leaders want to be European.
I agree.
More European.
I agree.
European.
I agree.
And that's why our people are
suffering. So that's a broken link. Okay, that's where we're dropping the ball. That's where we're dropping the ball. Okay. We admire our colonizers. Okay, I see where it is. Okay. I got it.
Yeah. We embrace our colonizers.
Yeah.
We embrace them. We hold them. We go. Right now, we can't wait to run to the United Nations and to the World Bank and to the IMF and wherever else is run by the people who were once our colonial masters.
Yes, I agree.
With our hat in our hands.
Okay, so you've answered the question. You've answered the question how we dropped the ball. How come we spend all this time in the wilderness? Why aren't we progressing? Because we actually see that the people who are running the world has some skills and we want to be just like them.
And furthermore, if you see a mainstream European educated Negro, thanks for the warning. Because the mainstream European educated Negro who mimics and parrots the ideology and the philosophy of the colonizer would be more oppressive to people that look like them.
Agreed. So you have no respect for the people who call themselves kings councils in Barbados then?
No. Because once you would have gotten rid of your colonial cloak, why would you want to have any annexation to king or queen or any of that rubbish? You're still calling yourself a king council. You're still bending and hemming and hawing to a system that you got rid of, and by way of vernacular. But not by way of deed. What is that
about? Because I love the Holy Bible, I just love reading it. So in all, when you see that people are dropping the ball, leaders are dropping the ball because they actually have Stockholm syndrome, a sort of Stockholm syndrome, and it shows that when the Israelites were 40 years walking around in circles, it seemed as though they could have only got to where they were going when new blood was born, and not only new blood, that new blood had to go in and destroy the system that they were going into. They had to go in and destroy that land. The promise that anyone that was in that particular land mass, they were instructed to destroy them and start anew. So I'm not recommending anything. I'm not even suggesting anything. I'm just quoting the Bible. But it seems as though at some point, you have to start anew.
Well, you most definitely have to start anew. Everyone has started anew. The founding fathers of the United States of America started anew. They started anew when they started to realize at the height of antebellum slavery that they needed to look at the constitution of this country, that people could rebel, and at the height of slavery, cost them money. See, everything is engineered on money and quantified by money with every other race of people except black people. We're the only people that feel it necessary to let people come into our so-called community, set up shop, and do what they want to do in our communities, rape, pillage, do whatever. To this day, we give them tax havens or whatever the hell we give them, whatever the hell we call them, and that there are no circumstances offered for the behavior of Europeans in our specific communities. That's why we fail. We fail because we have learned so well from them that we fall into line and do everything that we're supposed to do for them.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah,
to this day.
we take their education when they come back in their, you know, you call it cruise ships. When they come back in their ships and overlook, look what we have done. They come and they take a look what we have created. Yeah, but Bajans take them in and they call it tourism. So yeah, it's not going. Nothing's going to change. Okay. Nothing's going to change.
It's impossible. It's impossible for it to change. The reason why Haitians were able to do what they did was because of the dominance of the Yoruba, the recent African arrivals to Haiti from Africa with the spirit of rebellion in their blood. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why we had the revolution in Cuba. A lot of that people don't know that Castro was brought up in the predominantly African part of Cuba. So he was given the Yoruba upbringing, the fighting spirit of the Yoruba people. That's what Jamaica is dealing with. A massive percentage of the Jamaican population is Yoruba. That's why you have black on black crime at the levels that it's at when you study the history and the sociology of these areas and the psychology of their peoples. You understand? So white people who know damn well what's at the bottom of the damn ground, the geological table, let them go ahead and fight. Let them go ahead and fight. Do you not think that white people know that Guyana is going to fail?
I was wondering why. I was wondering when you were going to call Guyana. I was going to call Guyana when I talked about Venezuela, but I just left it alone.
Yeah, Guyana is going to fail. Do you not think that they know that already? They know it. Guyana is one of the most racist places on the planet Earth. It's massive tension in Guyana between the Indian and black population. And by the way, the Indian population is larger in Guyana than the blacks. It's larger.
Mm-hmm.
See, all of these areas are prone because of the slavery mentality that's festered for all these years. The issue hasn't been brought up, spoken to, and now you have a melting pot of hatred, of malice, and we at our tipping point. The leaders of the Caribbean have dropped the ball. They failed to take into consideration the growth of the Caribbean region as a whole. The things that the Caribbean would need to sustain itself.
I think when you say slave mentality, I think it waters it down a little bit when I hear people saying about talking about slave mentality. I think that it's something that is kind of soothing to people to hear that it's a mentality instead of it being a reality. Because I think that it's not a mentality per se, but I think it's slavery. I think people are still enslaved. I mean, full fledged. It's open. They think they have keys to the gates and that kind of stuff. They can get into the car or do whatever they want to do. They think that they're free, but it's not really a mentality. It's a state of being.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you that it's a reality.
Okay.
It's a reality to those of us who, from an externalized standpoint, can look in and see.
Yes.
It's a mentality and not a reality to those who live it, because a reality suggests that there's a realization, does it not?
Yes. Yes.
And to most Barbadians, they haven't realized what struck them.
They don't understand what they're in. They don't understand what they are a part of.
No.
You know how many times? Do you know how many times I've heard a Barbadian saying that they will not change anything, that they love their life? And I'm saying, you love coming from slavery. You love the fact that your ancestors came from slavery. You love that. You walk up in that. People, I don't understand the mentality at all. They don't. It's like they don't understand what they're in. They don't understand the reality of what they're in.
The conversation has to be had with Barbadian men in particular, for right now, and not the Barbadian woman. And I would set aside the Barbadian woman and deal only with the psychology of the Barbadian male mindset.
Now maybe we should do that one. Maybe that should be a program, a show that you and I have once a week, just talking about the male psyche, the Barbadian male psyche, and not
the Barbadian male psyche. The Barbadian male psyche. I think the Barbadian woman can be okay. I think she has some issues, but she will be altogether okay going forward. It's the Barbadian male psyche, and I believe that once Barbadian women birth Barbadian men, the construct should be about to engineer a Barbadian male with a mentality for not only self-survival, but familial intent at survival.
There's only so far domestication on that level can go. There's only so far. You're reaching. I don't. Maybe you're right, but I think you're reaching on that one. There's only so far.
I have to reach. I have to reach.
Okay.
As a man in this world with a son and grandchildren eventually, and brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces, I have to reach. I hope has to spring eternal. Because if I don't reach for this, then I'm saying that the demise of the black male, the Bajan male, is already a journey completed. And I can't believe that, because if I do, we could all well just lay down and go to our maker. We have to realize that we have to be able to talk about the reality.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not. I won't say I'm atheist, okay, but I border. I'm agnostic, okay. I don't believe in a God. I could never believe in a God that created this world, okay. I know that somebody created it and they had creation power and they know more than me. Yes, I attest to that, but I cannot believe in it. But I do like the Bible that they have left here with us. And when we talk about males, when you talk about males and the hope you have and springs eternal, and I think about the Bible, and there was at one point a God that said, if there are 50 good people, 50, I'll save you guys. And not 50 could be found. And then the servant came back and said, I didn't find 50. And this God that created says, if you can find 10 good people, 10, I'll save you guys. And they went around, they looked for 10, they could not find 10. And they went back to the God. You know, the tails between their ass now, they're shivering. You asked me for 50, that's a lot. You asked me to get 10. Can't find 10. And couldn't find one. Could not find one. So when I said domestication, at that level that you speak of when you talk about hope springs eternal, and I cannot digest it because for me, and I'm not a Christian, but I always have my head in that Bible, and I'm telling you that I like it so much that I incorporate it into my walk. And when you say that hope springs eternal, it works for you, Victor. That works for you. But the Bible, which is a guideline and a history book for me, it's like a guide for me and history for me. And I don't believe in history, right? But I use this as a guide. I think that finding a person that can be domesticated to the point where you can find no fault in them is like probably in my mind. In my
It's not
mind.
about domestication, though. I mean, I don't want to parse words here. I don't want to split hairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about domestication. It's about liberty.
Mm.
I don't care what you are. I don't care. I don't care if you're an alien from outer space. I couldn't give a damn less. As long as you treat people with decency.
Yeah, but we're talking about black men. We're talking about black men.
And integrity.
Yeah, but we're not talking about. We're not. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't care. I don't care about the religion of a person. I believe that they are good black men on this earth, and they're good men. Period. But they're good black men because the subject is about black men.
So okay, well, let's get on this. Okay, let's get on this point. And I'm not going forward, or I'm sticking with you on this point. So do you think that if there weren't laws that restricted them from going and picking out a 10-year-old, that a black man on his own will say, oh, I can't do that because it just doesn't feel right? Or can you in your mind here say, well, she's legal, the law says she's legal? So
I believe that there are a lot of black men out there, a lot of brothers and brothers. Like me talking about black men, so I'm not going to incorporate sisters in this. I believe that there are a lot of black men out there
that don't need law.
So you think
that there are a lot. Wait. Let's do 100%, and then you give me a percentage. You think that if laws weren't put in place, because most people that are in jail are the men.
I can't give you a percentage. That's unfair because I can't give you a percentage because we're talking about black.
So what? Okay, so what percentage? What percent? Wait. But what percentage of the law? What percentage of the law do you think regulate these people that you're talking about?
I can't give you a percentage.
Oh,
okay. I don't have the empirical number, and I haven't researched it enough to speak intelligently about it. I haven't, but I will. I will be able to research it and come back on a subsequent show with you and give you the numbers. But I believe that there are quite a few brothers, black men out there that will do the right thing when it comes to holding up family, holding up small children. I believe that pedophilic behavior is a behavior that's created out of the ruins of slavery and the malfeasance of slavery, trust on black people, black families.
Oh, who do you think were the first slave owners, Victor?
Say again?
Who do you think were the first slave owners, Victor?
Black people.
Oh, thank you. I thought maybe you had a brain fart there. Okay, I'm sorry. I just thought you had a brain fart. I'm sorry. Okay.
In North America, they were, but they weren't the first slave owners in the Caribbean. Black people weren't the first slave owners in the Caribbean.
So you say the Africans that owned slaves and sell them all over Saudi Arabia, all over.
Africans owned slaves in Africa. Africans owned slaves in the Caribbean.
Oh no, they sold them. They sold them in to the Europeans and the Europeans.
Yes,
right.
But you have to realize too that in Africa, where slave ownership and selling of slaves was prevalent, that it also was a crime for committing acts of homosexuality and other acts in Africa. Period.
Oh, so when
It's
you hear about the
historically documented.
oh, so when you hear about this
And
history,
I know you don't follow history, but it's historically
I don't
documented.
believe it. I don't believe in it. I can read a couple of chapters, but I don't believe it. My energy, it's just
But
I just
isn't it? But you
but
say you don't believe it, but on the other hand, you say that you don't believe history, but you believe
what I see now.
that black people who own slaves engineered the fact that pedophile should have been groomed during that period of time. Where would you have got that information from if you don't believe history?
I'm saying that I can see it now. I'm saying that when you hear about kings and queens, when you and then you hear that's you hear about oh we were king, you know when they say about Africa, oh we were kings and we were queens, and when you look at movies of the kings and queens and you see the naked young little girls dancing, you know, in front of the kings and queens in the court and everything, you see where it came from. You kind of see where all that came from. Okay.
The same thing is the same translation could be said and made of Europeans, could be made of Caligula, could be made of any.
Yeah, but I have a feel. I have a feeling that they saw. I have a feeling. You see, what I feel is they saw what happened in the older world with Africa, the older world, and they're perfect. They got what they did was they beat Africa at its own game. That's what I feel. That's what I feel.
I don't know. I don't know if they beat Africa at Africa's own game because I mean, to understand Africa, you have to understand. I mean, you don't read history. You say you don't read, but I would reference people like Sheikh Anta Diop. I heard you on numerous occasions mention Dr. John Henrik Clarke. But if you mention Dr. John Henrik Clarke, who is an esteemed Afrocentric historian, then you must mention Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, who's the forerunner to all of them, probably the greatest historian of African antiquity ever is Anta Diop, the Senegalese historian, psychologist, and I mean, very, very highly lettered in many different things. But to add to your point, or to speak to it, I believe that Africa has its problems, and certainly we can point to them as far as the transatlantic slavery, transatlantic slavery was concerned, that Africa contributed to that. I can't deny that. I wouldn't. But no brutality was more outrageous, lacking in humanity than what Europeans did when they got from on the transatlantic slave voyages to Barbados and beyond.
Because what they did, what they did, Victor, what they did was they turned someone who would work, who would think in their minds, because when you go to work, you think you're working for a salary, you know, you're earning a living and it's your career. They took people from Africa who thought that they could shake hands and okay, I'll work for you for 10 years and make sure I get my land, or they go to Saudi Arabia and they work for a time and come back home. They took people from that type of slavery, you know, that type of, and then what they did was they took people and turned them into non-people. So it took a while and it took brutality. It's not easy to take the spirit of a person. You have to break them like how you break a horse, or how you break other wild animals. They had to break that spirit of African people, and they made a human being. Yes, they were indentured servant. They called themselves, like I said, like how you call yourself an employee and this and that. I'm this and that. They had those terminologies back then. What the Europeans did was to tell them, you are a slave. Took time, took brutality. Yes, so it was worse off. They were worse off.
From the time they came out of Goree Island, when they walked through the door of no return.
Yep.
They knew that they were slaves.
But
They knew.
but they had to, the break-in, and even there in St. John, when they branded them and people coming into Bridgetown when they were, because they had to lie to people when they were on that glory ship and they were on Namaste and they were on the Jesus ship. They had to lie to them. Thinking they're coming to a better place. So when they realized they were,
why would they lie to a person who was shackled? It wasn't like they were walking around in the good Jesus, the ship.
No,
Like they weren't walking around free.
Some of them were
shackled.
No, some of them were better. You see, even in the system in Barbados, when they have the hierarchies, it's all slavery, but some are honorable, and they're going to parliament, and they're all, they're called different names, and they put on different robes. Some even put on white wigs, man. There was a time they put on a white wig and go into the courts or whatever. So even though it's all top bottom slavery, some are still putting themselves in a different classism, in a different class. So even within slavery on the ships, there were different classes. There were different classes of slaves.
You have to understand that wherever colonial masters ruled in Commonwealth countries, and the French don't have Commonwealth, but the French and the Dutch are involved in this too, that the goal was, in totality, to subjugate the people of any region colonized, to strip them of everything they knew. They weren't supposed to know or understand what life beyond Africa really was.
So that speaks to your point when you said that the Europeans were the most cruel and whatever, because they had to take away. Do you know why this take away someone's religion? And to take away someone's language?
They didn't take away their religion.
Oh, they did. They did. They left with the Bible. They left with the Bible. They left with the Bible now. They left with the Bible.
Yeah, they didn't take away Africa's religion. What you have to understand is that they miscegenized the African region. Listen, they started to miscegenized Africa. The big word, but small meaning. They started to integrate Africa, to make it white, to whiten Africa, to lighten Africa, long before the slave trade. The intentionality of colonizers, it was clear. It was clear.
And it was clear that they could not, but it was clear that they could not have done it any other way but the way they did it.
You know why they chose to do it that way? Do you know why they chose to do it that way? They chose to do it that way because they needed a long-lasting labor source.
And they have it.
They needed free labor, and they still have free labor.
But it's not only that they needed a long last. They needed it into perpetuality. They needed it into the furthest part of the future that they could have seen. They needed it to go into that realm, and they have. They've succeeded. Mm-hmm. They've succeeded. Mm-hmm. Let's get back to Haiti.
The reason that we don't understand things is that we don't understand quantifiability. We don't understand measurement. We don't understand time.
But they understand euphemisms. They understand euphemisms, though.
Of course, we're very euphemistic.
God!
Would you not be euphemistic when you are the ancestor of, you are the progeny of ancestors who were brought here in the bowels of slave vessels
and had children through group sex, what do you call it now? Orgies. That's the word for it. And they had children via being all pushed together in a barn and said, go hell yeah, be fruitful and multiply.
And the greatest insult that you could add to the legacy of your ancestors is then to go on a ship calling itself the Jolly Roger, mm-hmm. that looked exactly like a slave vessel.
But they don't know the history. They don't know it. They don't know that. The Bajans are not teaching African and Black history. They don't teach it in schools, so they won't know. They won't know.
So
And then meanwhile, they put their hands up in the air and they say, "I'm Black and I'm proud." And since they killed Floyd, that guy Floyd, when they stepped on his neck, since they killed him and all of them came out saying, "We're Black and we're proud and Black lives matter." Black lives. They killed more Black people since then. More black people got killed since all that than before.
Yeah. If we would have prosecuted the majority on black crimes, you're right. Like we prosecuted with the level of expeditiousness, the killer of George Floyd. If we would have done that to most black people walking around in cities throughout the United States and the Caribbean, if we would have had the same level of fervence.
Oh please, it's all a show.
Towards black
it's all
criminality.
Yeah, it's all a show. Yeah. Black lives matter, and more black people got killed. Since Floyd. Since Floyd.
It's the hypocrisy, Sherry. I have contended, and I will always contend. No white man can treat black men, and I'm being gender neutral here, so I mean both black men and women, of course, with the level of brutality that we as black people treat each other. We are the worst people as it references the treatment of ourselves than any other people on the planet Earth. There's no one that can treat black people. And I always say this, unapologetically, we learn too well from the white man.
And I always say, and my motto is very simple, that if after coming out of chattel slavery, you can rob a black woman, or you can rob a black man, a black woman can rob a black man, or you can intentionally betray your black brother or your black sister, it means that you're worse off than when you came out of Africa, or when you're worse off than your ancestors. You're worse off than your ancestors.
Did you watch the movie Mandingo or the movie Drum with Ken Norton?
No.
Did you watch those movies?
No.
Very prominent during the 1970s. When the Bassa made Ken Norton, who was a slave, sleep with his own sister, Big Pearl. And he slept with her and impregnated her. And after they knew that the information was meted out to them that they were brother and sister, it was insignificant. The level of spiritual awareness and spiritual consciousness was not even there. There was no understanding of that. Today, we have people operating at the same level of misunderstanding, of lack of knowledge. With all the books, with all the technology that's out here, people, for whatever reason, lack the spiritual grasp to be able to understand that we are in the height of a battle, and that battle's center is slavery. That we are enslaved. That the only thing that's stopping us from being reservationized or plantationized is they don't want to do it right now. They're not interested in.
They don't need to do it, Victor. They don't need to do it. It's an open prison. It's an open prison. They don't need to do it. Yeah. Because if you can put a cap on your fist and go out and put a gun in another black man's fist and say, "Give me your money, give me your phone, give me this, give me that," they got you. They got you. Mm-hmm. They got you.
So we are doing it. And when you look at the crime ratio, I agree with you. You got 5% people living on the island of Barbados who are not black. 5%. And the rates of violence amongst the 95% does not encapsulate anything to do with the life expectancy or the deviance relative to the 5%. Because we have learned so well from the slave master that we know that if we excuse my language, with the 5%, I hope this thing, we're not on a radio show right now. That if
yes, we are. Yes, we are. We are on the radio.
If we mess with the 5%, that there's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, yeah.
So all these years removed from slavery, we know damn well that the 5%, for all purposes and intents, the power of the 5% is so strong that we dare not, I guarantee you, wherever they are, whether they're in St. John or St. Lucie or wherever they are, you will never hear, unless it's by accident and it is quickly, you will never hear no Negro kill no white American, no white Brit, no white German. And if they do by accident, their police forces are out post haste to grab whoever the perpetrator of that crime is, as opposed to black on black crime. They throw their hands in the air and say, you know what, let them kill each other. Because guess what? The black slave driver has learned so well from the white master that they okay black on black crime. Black on black crime means nothing. So when we jump up and down every Sunday at 10 o'clock in these churches, Jamaica has more churches per capita than any place else in the world, and still has that level of crime, still has that level of viciousness and hatred and malice towards people that look just like you. So that speaks volumes to how our people think. You understand? You can send them to all the brick and mortar institutions in the world. Forget the religion thing. Start dealing with whether that person has a spiritual element. And by spiritual, I don't mean a connection to Eurocentric religiosity, but I'm talking about spirituality of the universe, where you can reach out into the vibratory system of the universe, understand the righteousness of treating people with levels of respect.
And that goes, okay, that goes back to,
that's supposed to be.
Yeah, but that goes back to when I talked about the level of domestication, and you talked about being far removed from slavery, and still here we are. They've perfected. I find, in my looking at the earth where I currently reside, I feel that chattel slavery has been perfected. People don't see the chains. They may feel it with the mortgage. That's like they call it a death grip, or if they have to pay a rent, they feel it, and they detect it in certain things, but they still not realize it. It's a chain. It's a chain. They have perfected chattel slavery to the point that the life form within the person is gone. For you not to recognize what you're in, it should tell you that there's no life left in you. You're like a robot. You're like an android. There's no life left in you. If you cannot, at some point, even in your dream state, when you go to bed, it does not prick you. You're not like being like tormented in your dream state to say you're a slave. You're a slave. The soul of the person, the soul of many people, it's not there. It's not there.
When you marry the insipidness of what once was chattel slavery, and then all the ancillary products that come along with chattelcy, religiosity, the social belief system,
putting on sauce.
Yeah. You got
Mother Sally.
A combustible mix. You got a combustible mix of, as I contend all the time, of what's existing on the subcontinent of India, where you have a system of people believing that at the lower echelon of the Dalits in India, you have the same caste-oriented system in Barbados. Mm-hmm. It's a caste-oriented system from which the recovery is not going to be something that's going to be afforded quickly, expeditiously. You build into a system and add on to it and add on to it and add on to it, 11 plus exam. Your father went to this school, you should go to this school. Religion, what your grandfather did, who goes to the civil service, what family you come from. These are all caste-oriented mechanisms, sociologically and psychologically embedded into the temperament of the Barbadian slave that now creates and overcooks a system that already was laid out by the slave master, that's perpetuated by
it's still it's chattel slavery, the field slave and the house slave, all kind of stuff. It's chattel slavery. It's still there. It's still there.
And then you have the memories of it, the infrastructure, the way the houses have been built and still are built. Everything reminds you of a plantation system. Mm-hmm. You're not removed from that the constancy of that plantation system, the freedom. No other race on people wanted to stay or would have stayed in slavery for as long as black people stayed. Mm-hmm. No other race. Mm-hmm. No other race.
It's done. It's done.
6 million people died during the Holocaust. Yeah. And we can never hear enough of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You can never hear enough of that. Right.
But black people do not understand the situation they find themselves in. And when the Constitution was first put together here in the United States, and they called the black slaves and the progeny of slaves not quite human, they weren't quite human. They knew what they were speaking of. They had to pull back because of, there was a little, you insulted people, and it was kind of insulting, but they knew what they were saying. They knew that the formula that they needed to put in place to keep a slave was perfected. And you cannot be a human being and a slave. The two don't marry. You're either a slave or you're a human being. You cannot be both. Cannot be both. A slave.
When a brother, like you say, point a gun in another brother's face.
That should tell you.
Our brother finds it necessary to grossly disrespect a black woman.
That should tell you.
It tells you where his level of.
It tells you. There's no soul. There's no soul.
Not fully developed.
There's no soul. There's no soul.
No.
There's no soul. There's no soul. And the founding fathers.
No one that's fully developed
can do that.
Who possesses caring at a minimal level about their people will endow across the board suffering of an entire race of people.
I agree.
Of the destruction of an entire.
It's perfected. What they did has been perfected, and you see it in small islands. You see it. It's perfected. And when people say, I'm black and I'm proud, and I say to them, because sometimes I have the opportunity, you're proud that you came from slavery? Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. So you like the fact that your parents and your grandparents were slaves and had to hide in mud and had to try to escape and got foot cut off and head cut off and tongue pulled out and this. You like that? Well, I'm still here. I can't deal with them. I'm telling you now, Victor, I can't deal with them. Can't deal with them.
Yeah. Well, our behavior over the years continues to be emblematic of people who are physically free but mentally shackled. And as long as we continue to do that by way of legislation of our governments, laws passed to enable the judiciary to not understand the difference between crime and punishment, recidivistic behavior, pedophilia, and pedophilic behavior, abuse of women and the elderly. When we don't enact laws that separate us from chattelcy and bring us into a new era of self-sufficiency, then we are stuck. Right?
That's a big order right there, because that means you're going to have to decide who's human and who's not.
Mm.
That's a tall order that you just spoke of right there. Because how do you gauge how someone, if someone is just sitting in the room and can you look at them and tell if they're human or not? And you never quite commented on the fact that the government here in America actually said it. Not only the government said it, every place in the world, they have an opinion of black people. That's so for the purposes of this conversation. So when the Americans say that we weren't quite human, do you think they knew something that we should know about? What was it that they didn't tell us, but they were telling us?
Well, I mean, you again. If you dealt in history, we have a historical debate. But I wouldn't take the word of Europeans for shit, because
I'm talking about the Constitution.
Let me finish.
I'm talking about the American Constitution.
There's no group of people on the planet Earth more responsible for immorality, complete immorality, proven immorality, than the founding fathers of the United States.
So they're not quite human either, then. So
Jefferson. Let's use Thomas Jefferson. Right? He's the third president of the United States of America. He was having sex with a 16 or 15-year-old girl, and he was one of the founding fathers. George Washington, he owned slaves. And I mean, when they talk about who is human and who is not, you already have your answer right there. The inhumanity of these sons of bitches and the fact that they're touted, people look at them as if they're so illustrious. And no, they're a bunch of criminals that wore wigs. And
no, all black people are wearing wigs and are criminals.
A specific geographical area of the world. And, they did what they had to do in their time. The technology of their time was owning slaves, getting free labor for nothing, purchasing souls of people that are doing wrong by people and stuff
You've heard of sweatshops, right?
Say again?
You've heard of sweatshops, right?
Right.
Okay. And you do know that there are more slaves now than when there was chattel slavery, right?
Yes.
Okay.
People still have sweatshops, and Arabs still practice slavery.
Okay.
Yes, I know. But that goes to the moral fiber of people. But sometimes you talk about slavery as though it's something of the past. Sometimes you talk about it as though it's no longer here, No. I'm not talking about it like it's no longer here.
Okay.
I'm talking about what the founding fathers, you interjected them into the conversation.
Okay.
When they said that humans, that black people were humans, that we were 3/5 of a human. All that's in their constitution. And that tells you, like Al Sharpton once said on an interview to someone, when they said to him, "God bless America," and his retort was, "God bless America? America already been blessed." So that's why I'm able to say to you this day that the best days of America are way behind it, because America has to atone for what it did to people that look like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not walking around here all proud and lathered up in America the great America. No, America's going to atone, or already is atoning, for what it did to people that look like you and look like me.
So what about Africa?
Say again?
What about Africa and their atonement? What about Africa?
You don't think Africa has atoned for selling its own people into slavery? You don't think it's atoning? You don't think it is? You don't see what's happening to Africa? Wrong is wrong, no matter how you look at it.
So let's get back to Haiti. Let's go back to Haiti and land this plane right. I'll let you finish up on Haiti.
Well, as I stated about Haiti, I believe that Haiti is a failed state. It's had several trials and failures at governance, self-governance. Been unable to do that, to produce, like you said earlier, 1 in 10, just one, to lead it from where it is to where it should be. And the constancy of failure has come not only at the hands of people looking to colonize and to destabilize, but it's come because of its own people and the selfishness of its leaders. Whether that selfishness is the dwellings on the French Riviera, as in the Duvaliers, or the currency of the killing of a president and the knowledge of his death by his spouse. We have a problem, Houston, and that problem is tied to the centrality of whether Black people are suited for leadership.
Oh, shoot.
In a majority Black country like Haiti. I would venture to say that based on policies that I have seen in most Caribbean countries, most of them, not all, we have major problems with Black leadership. The abdication of responsibility to lead people, to maintain law and order, is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's more especially a problem in Haiti. And Haiti's up for grabs.
So, okay, let's talk about what you just said.
A country named Haiti.
Let's deal with what you just said. There's a problem with leadership in the islands. Black people leading Black people, and they're picking from the creme de la creme, like, because they're voting someone in, and they go around like in the days of the Bible when they went around and said, we just need, like in Barbados, 30 good people. I don't know how many they would be looking for in Haiti, but they would say, let's go with 30. We need just 30 good people and one to lead that 30. One good person. And if they're getting that wrong, it goes back to what I say about when you talk about hope springs eternal. It goes back to that. We have to come back to that. Even that one doesn't make it. Can't make it. And, they talk to me remotely in Barbados. They have some people who hate her. And she's the one that's leading, and she will tell you that there's a multitude of people that do not like her. So and was she even the best for the job, or is she the best that they could pick for the job? How do you gauge it? How do you measure these things? There's no scientific.
Well, Mia's leadership has been admirable. I mean, you can't compare even remotely Barbados to most other Caribbean countries, most other countries in the world. Mia's leadership is admirable. She has a stable government. And politicians, by the way, should be disagreed with. No politician should have a clear passage of any political system. A democracy is defined by agreement and disagreement, is it not? So the way that Mia Amor Motley has handled Barbados' business has been well above par. She has left the country, if she were to leave a public office, better than she found it. Politics is a blood sport, and is also a participation event. Those people who would criticize Amor Motley's leadership are not participating in the political system in Barbados as we know it. They're just cynics who sit on the sideline and cry out about the leadership of Barbados and where it's going, and do very precious little to solve the problems of the country. If they want to solve the problems of Barbados, Walk to Yarrow Court or to the House of Assembly, Parliament. Set up a meeting with the Prime Minister. Speak to her about your differences and come to conclusions that are sustainable for the people of Barbados in the future. Foolishness is foolishness. Mia Amor Motley is not a foolish person. You can disagree with her, but she's not an idiot. She's not a foolish person who separates herself from issues and policies. She understands policies all too well. I don't need to beat Mia's drum. I don't need to beat it. But as a Barbadian expatriate, I am proud of Mia Amor Motley. Proud of her. I am more in sync with her leadership talent than I am against what she does. And I am not ashamed to say that to anybody. And I will furthermore say that any person aspiring to political leadership in Barbados, debate her on any topic of your choosing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Meet her at the debate stage relative to the health, the political health of Barbados, and debate her. And I guarantee you, you will lose that debate. I know it. You know why I know it? Because I believe that she stands on the constant laurels of good politics and good welfare for the people of Barbados. And if I were to be placed in a position to speak proudly about my Prime Minister, I certainly would, because she steps ahead of the rest. Period. I said it before and I'll say it again. She's the only adult in the room. The rest of them are adolescents aspiring for political leadership. Sherry Veronica.
Yeah, we were talking about comparisons, but that was great. That was great. So let's get back to Haiti. So you think that everything is going to work just the way the powers want it to work in Haiti?
The international community could solve Haiti's problems,
But they won't.
The Caribbean as a government met, and I'm sure that with the leadership of our Prime Minister in Barbados and several other Caribbean political icons and leaders, you know, they spoke truth to what's going on in Haiti. The ripple that's Haiti could potentially cause a tidal wave throughout the Caribbean.
It hasn't happened before, and you know, what's going on there is just as bad as what's always gone on there. So I don't know.
So the international community has spent all of its time dealing with Ukraine and Israel and the Gaza Strip. How about us having some TLC for Haiti for a minute and look at what's going on in Haiti and look at solutions to the people in Haiti who, by the way, last time I checked, Israel or Ukraine didn't have devastating earthquakes. They're much richer countries than is Haiti. So it tells me that there's a formulated hatred towards the people of Haiti who happen to be in this hemisphere. And we've seen that by what's been meted out from an immigration standpoint to Haitians coming to this United States of America, and how Haitians are treated relative to how Cubans are treated. So I don't know if it's because Haiti is lesser as far as a voting bloc in the United States of America, and I would hate to think that it's because of the blackness of the skin of Haitians. I say this to Joe Biden, that Haitians are treated the way they're treated. And Obama, how about giving Haiti a drop in the bucket that you sent to Ukraine, that you sent to Israel? How about that? Maybe I'm being too bucolic, too Pollyannish, wearing my emotions on my sleeves. I'm always accused of things like that.
Do you know what the Americans get from Haiti in terms of trade?
No. What
Okay.
do they get from Ukraine in
Ukraine,
terms of like?
Ukraine produces the most grains, like all the flour, all that kind of stuff that you that we.
America doesn't need grain from Ukraine.
But that's
It
so.
has
But we do.
it
But
has the Bible Belt.
nah, yeah.
If it buys from Ukraine, it's only because of its geopolitical need to be geopolitically and geographically located right next to Russia. It's all a ruse. We produce more grain on the Bible Belt than Ukraine can ever ship to us. Trust me.
Hey, the United States get a lot of stuff from the Ukraine. They talk about iron pipes, fruit juice, grain for days, grain for days. So I don't know if the grain from America goes to China, because a lot of what we produce here, it goes over to China. You would think that China will have their own grain, but you know they have a lot of people there too. So even the cotton from America, a lot of that goes over to China. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that the Ukraine produces for the world, not only the United States, for the world.
Well, you know, it all comes down to the geographical location.
No, but I say that in response to, I was thinking out loud, like
Yeah.
what does the world get from Haiti?
And we get what's on the Haitian soil, what we've always gotten. But the large corporate entities, the Black Rocks, the largest, the Vanguard systems, the largest corporate entities in the world eat their food and shut their mouths. They eat their food and they shut their mouths. You know, so trust me, if Haiti was irrelevant, you wouldn't even hear about it.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it's irrelevant though. Yeah, I wasn't saying that.
I know you didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
But if it was an irrelevant country with no resources to offer Europeans, you wouldn't even hear about it. There are places in Africa you wouldn't even hear about. You don't even hear about them. They have coups and you don't hear nothing about them. Nothing. Oh, they got a new leader. Like they just change a leader like they change shirts or underwear. Don't even hear. Yeah. So I contend that, you know, my brothers and sisters in Haiti, you know, they're gonna continue to destabilize them for a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Yes, please.
This is Sherry Veronica, Naked Departure Radio.